Not only is Andy one of my favorite people in the world, but she's also married to one of my other favorite people in the world. Very rarely will you see the Academy ever come in and ask people who have a business to lecture on what they do, because we try to just present different information that's scientific, that covers the board. But these two are very unique with a company called Aura Medica. The two doctors have put together, and I have taken this class so I can speak personally about it, have taken together concepts and marketing and teach you how to project yourself and present yourself to the public in a very professional manner. And this afternoon, or this morning, I guess it still is, isn't it, Andy? You're going to have to think, you're going to have to write, you're going to have to put things to thought on paper. So without delay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Brockman.
I was asked to speak today about how to increase your practice revenues and how to be able to get the type of practice that you really enjoy working in and that you are actually making a great living for it. The irresistible practice is not only irresistible to other people, but it has to be irresistible to you as well. This is a place where you spend a good deal of your time and that you really need to enjoy working. You have to love what you do, you have to love your patients, you have to love your staff, and if you don't, then you're just going to have some problems getting the referrals that you need, because referrals is what is going to build your practice. One of the things that you really need to address is what makes you authentic. What makes you different than your colleagues? How do you stand out among the crowd? And this is a question that most marketing people will ask, and it just seems like a no-brainer. And every time, and I work with a number of holistic practitioners, because that's where I decided that I wanted to spend my time with. But most of the holistic dentists and the naturopaths and the chiropractors and the holistic physicians that we work with, when I ask that question, they always say, well, I do great work, and I have a friendly staff, and I have a beautiful office, and I have high-tech equipment, and gee, I'm really personable. And I hate to say that, but that's what everybody says. So if everybody's saying the same thing, how can that make you so different? Because if they all have a great looking building and great practices and friendly staff, then how is anybody going to tell the difference between you and the person down the street or in the next town? So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, is how to not only define your authenticity very clearly to yourself, but also how to reveal that so other people will also know that you are authentic. The second thing that's extremely important is determining who your target market is and your niche market. They're slightly different, and I'll explain what the difference is a little bit later. But unless you are going to target your practice to a very specific group of people and you think that you're going to be appealing to everybody, you will actually not be getting very far. And then the third thing that we're going to talk about is how to identify who your referral sources are, because there's many, many more than you think. How to develop these referral sources, and then how to sustain it. Because most people will say that their best patients come from referrals. How many people here are doing any advertising? I would say, okay, maybe about a third. How many people are doing any marketing of any kind? I will venture to say that the ones that have not raised their hands don't realize that you are marketing every minute of the day. If you are selling a treatment plan, you are marketing. If you're having somebody answering your telephone and making appointments, you are marketing. Marketing is just another language. And, you know, for those of us who have been in professional schools, what makes us so esoteric to the public, to the masses, is that we really have a different language and that we all understand each other. But when it comes to marketing, I don't think that this is something that was paid much attention to in professional schools, because they figured that, you know, you learned your skill, you're great technicians, go out there, hang up your shingles, and the Brinks truck is going to just deliver to your door. That happened to us. Didn't that happen to everybody else? Okay. In your dreams. Okay. So we're going to go over some of the definitions so that you can at least understand some marketing terminology, and then do a little bit of giving you some information on marketing itself and what this actually means. And then we're also going to be doing some activities, some exercises. So I'm the kind of person that feels that you can really learn a whole lot more when you do it yourself, rather than me trying to tell you something. So it's much more revealing to you. So you're going to be doing some exercises where you have some handouts in your booklet. And then I'm just going to give you some promotional ideas that you can actually take home with you and put into practice when you get back to your offices on Monday. This is my company, Ormedic International, and if anybody can see from the name, we have decided that it's time medicine and dentistry come together. And so we spent a long time brainstorming this activity, and you probably want to know how we got to forming this company. And I'll just tell you a little bit about my background and why I'm teaching you about marketing right now. I was a biological dentist for 25 years and had a very successful practice with my husband in Philadelphia. And prior to that, I was a coronary care nurse, and I had a very good background in whole body medicine, and it never really occurred to me that the mouth was separate from the rest of the body, so it didn't seem a big stretch for me to be able to incorporate medicine in dentistry in our practice. And our practice was limited to treating the chronically ill patient, and that was just something that we just felt very comfortable in doing. So we had established a practice where people were coming to us from really all over the world, and we had to develop our skills as practitioners, and we're learning a great deal about TMJ and full mouth reconstruction, and a lot of the dental infections, and basically I got into biological dentistry because of my own experience with working with mercury as a nurse, because I had broken a thermometer on the hospital floor, and that room was quarantined until the hazmats came in, and here I am in dental school, and 300 dentists are working on the clinic floor, dropping their amalgams and squeezing it in squeeze cloths, and we weren't even wearing masks or gloves at that time. And that was when I had my first panic attack in dental school, and ended up in the hospital with heart arrhythmias, had a miscarriage, and started getting headaches and digestive problems. And I was a pretty healthy person before dental school, so when I asked my professors, why are we using this mercury? And they said, it's perfectly safe, it gets locked in the filling. And I said, well, you might believe that, but, what's it doing to me? And they said, you know what, just don't talk about it and don't make waves. So I said, okay. So, once we got into dental school, once we got into practice, we decided not to use mercury for my own personal health reasons, and then it just developed from there. And of course, doing my own research wasn't so easy at that time without an internet, but we came into these wonderful groups, and that's how we were able to develop our practice. And by the way, we had decided that we would stop using dental insurance because we just weren't able to practice the way we needed to, and we dropped it cold turkey, and we lost 70% of our patients because this was a philosophical viewpoint that we had to do, and within 1 year we had made more money in that practice than we had the year before, and then we had doubled it in the next year because we actually developed our niche market. Around 2001, September 11th, when the country was being attacked. My husband was having a physical to increase our life insurance, and was found out they had high blood pressure at that time. Well, what was going on is we had a state board action against us. We had 7 lawsuits. We had a insurance malpractice carrier that had gone bankrupt and left us holding the bag. So we were wondering why he had high blood pressure. Of course, they told him to go on medications and that would be okay, and they would underwrite him, but he decided to go under chelation and he was just fine in a couple weeks. But ironically, our state board action was not by a patient complaint, as Dr. King was talking about how most of these complaints come in. Our state board action came from false, deceptive, and misleading advertising. We had a website that we had been talking about cavitations, and somehow some power to be got a hold of that and figured that we were, not giving proper information because cavitations didn't exist. And if cavitations didn't exist, then therefore, if we were using a machine that was helping to diagnose a condition that didn't exist, then that was false and deceptive and misleading. So we had to deal with that and decided that between everything that was going on, that maybe it was time to shift gears a little bit and figure out how we were going to make a big impact on this world and do what we love to do, which was to help people and to educate people and to inform people. And so we decided that we're not going to let people suffer from false, deceptive, and misleading advertising. That you have a very important job to do because healthcare is at the bottom of the barrel right now. And actually, this is our time. This is probably the perfect storm, if you would like to call it that, where you have employers complaining left and right that they're having double-digit increases in healthcare premiums that they have to pay. People are getting sicker and sicker. They can't afford good health care. God forbid you end up in the hospital. Lord help you. So this is the time when you are able to, as practitioners, get out and show your authenticity, because nobody knows healthcare and how to keep people healthy and how to sustain health better than this group of people. And the doctors that are in this room and the naturopaths, I'll call you naturopaths and MDs because you're all doctors, we're all doctors, chiropractors, these are the people that really understand the dental connection. So when I speak to you today, I am speaking mostly to the dentists because this is my background. However, this marketing will work with anybody that is in this room. The first definition that you need to know about is that there is a difference between marketing and advertising. And advertising is really what you see in displays, in newspapers, in magazines. It's what you hear on the radio. It's what you see on television. That's advertising. Marketing is what you do to help facilitate making a decision. That could just be as simple as talking to somebody when you're doing a treatment plan proposal. That could be writing an article. That could be teaching your front desk person how to answer the phone so that there's good customer service. I have to tell you that that is probably one of the most negative marketing that goes on is your receptionist or the person you're giving that responsibility to answer the telephone from calling hundreds of, not thousands of different dental offices. Most of them will put you on hold before they even get your name. It's not a welcoming type of experience that you get, and that's the first impression. Marketing could be your on-hold messages. Marketing could be a lecture that you are giving. But basically, it is to help somebody make the decision that's going to give them the best result. So there is that shade of difference between marketing and advertising. Advertising is a form of marketing. The next thing is your authentic identity and your business reflection. When you have something that you can distinguish yourself about that makes you really superb practitioner, and yet you see the person down the street that does not have the same skills that you do, doesn't have as nice an office, and yet they seem to be so much busier. Why are they getting all the patients? Why are they going there? What is it that what is it that the public is perceiving about them that makes them want to go to that other practice? So your authentic identity may not be what is being reflected to the masses, and that's what we need to work on to make them the same. Then there's commodities versus products. Commodities would be, in a dental office, a crown, a filling. In a medical office, it may be chelation, it may be supplements. These are commodities that you could think about if you were buying in a store, and so therefore they'll have a price tag attached to them. You can say that it costs $1,000 for a crown, or it costs $1,000 for 10 chelation visits. But really, what is the product? The product is very different than the commodity, because when a patient comes in, they're not buying a crown. They really don't care that they're getting a crown. What they're buying, the product that they're buying, is to be able to eat, is to be able to not be in pain. When somebody is buying chelation therapy, they're not really buying chelation. They're not coming to you because you're a chelation doctor. They're coming to you because they want to feel healthy. They want to wake up and not feel fatigued in the morning. That's your product. So when you take a look at your commodities, your products, your services that you're doing, I want you to think in terms of drill down to the next step. What is this product really selling? A target market. These are the people that you would like to be able to give your services to, provide your services for. So let's take a look at a typical dental office, and people will say, well, I do everything, so therefore everybody should want my services. If you do that, you're really not going to be able to get a flourishing, sustainable practice. In biological dentistry, we have somewhat of a target market in that we're dealing with either health-conscious people or we're dealing with patients that are sick. So that is somewhat of a target market. But let's break that down a little bit further into who are your market segments. Your market segments would be people that would fall in within those target markets. So let's say you have health-conscious people that you are dealing with. Those market segments in there might include athletes, that might include mothers who want healthy children. It might include seniors who want to be able to, sustain a healthy lifestyle. Those are different segments within the target market of health-conscious people. If you're looking at that you are dealing with people that are chronically ill, then your market segments, and you can divide your market segments in any number of ways. Your market segments may be people of a certain age group. It may be people that have a particular different chronic illness that they're dealing with. It could be women. It could be people that have a certain disease. So a market segment falls within the target market. Then you have what's called a niche market, where you have somebody that you are treating market segments within the target market, and an example of that would be where you are treating women's health issues. That might be a market segment that you're dealing with, but your niche market in that women's health issues may be pregnant women, or it may be menopausal women. I mention women because it happens to be most of your patients. The next thing is that there is a difference between tactical and strategic marketing. The best way to explain this is in terms of warfare, because you hear about tactics and strategies there all the time. In a war, the tactics that they'll use is that they're going to use planes and infantry and tanks and any of the number of things that they're going to be using for that particular battle. In marketing, tactics are newsletters, it's website, it's direct mail, it is messages on hold, articles. These are tactics, these are tactical marketing pieces. So when you have a company that says we're going to send out 1,000 direct mail pieces to all the new residents in your area, that's tactical marketing. Strategic, on the other hand, is how you do something, how you're carrying it out, what you're saying. In war, again, the strategy would be to take those tanks and use 25 of them and go from the east and bring your infantry in and use several different companies to be able to come in from different flanks, and going to do it at night, and you're going to be using 55 bombs over this particular city. Do you see the difference between the tactics and the strategy? In marketing, you're going to take those direct mail pieces or that advertising or that website, and you have to say something very specific on there that's going to be attracting your target market. So for every tactical piece that you are putting out, you must have a strategy that goes along with it. And if you're comparing that to what you do in your own practice, we all, as dentists, we can all use tactical marketing of crowns, okay? But what makes the crowns different in a dental practice of a biological dentist? The strategy is totally different. Cross-professional marketing. That is something that we can all do as practitioners, and I don't think anybody can do it better at this point than this group. We are going outside of trying to get referrals from our own people. So in other words, orthodontists would try to get referrals from the general dentist, periodontists from the general dentists, the general biological dentists from the holistic practitioners, from the naturopaths, from the chiropractors. I want to tell you that you could probably take a look at how many dentists can get referrals from endocrinologists, cardiologists, pulmonologists, oncologists, radiologists, orthopedics, physical medicine, sports medicine, neurology, surgeons, cosmetic and plastic surgeons, allergists, immunologists, rheumatologists, dermatologists, gastroenterologists, obstetrics and gynecology, maternal fetal medicine, psychiatry, stress management, pediatrics, ENT. Should I go on? You get the picture? That's not to mention spas, fitness centers, organizations, hair salons, tanning salons, camps, plus other dentists. Okay. That's cross-professional marketing. We're going outside of our box, and we can do it very effectively. And then there's such a thing as a timeline of buying. And this is very important, because how many people will present a treatment plan to somebody and they're just not ready to buy it at the time that you mentioned to them, for various reasons. They may not have the money at the time. They may not have the support. They don't have the time. They haven't been convinced. Whatever the reason is, there is a timeline of buying, and most people think that marketing is not successful because they're trying to get to the people who are at the far end of the timeline of buying. If you go from A to Z, X, Y, Z are the only people that are actually ready to buy at the time of service, but 95% of the people are not there. And so marketing is a process. Marketing is to try and get all of those people from A to X to be able to, when they make that decision, to go ahead and get this work done, that you're the one that they choose. I put this slide up because I want you to realize that marketing is just not about what you're doing in your practice. It really has to do with your life, because this is a reflection, your work is a reflection of what you do. And all of these things have to be interrelated with each other. Your goals, the relationships that you have with your family, your friends, your patients, your staff, what you do personally, your health. You can't do anything if you're not in good health yourself. So you really do have to take care of yourself. How satisfied you are with working in your practice, how much you really enjoy your patients, what kind of contributions you're making, and the work you do that should be able to supply you wealth. But wealth is just not the only thing that's here. That's not what it's about. It's about the whole thing. This is really a much more holistic approach. When I work with clients or in workshops, one of the things we have you do is to write down what it is that you hate to do. Because if there's things that you really just don't like in your life and what you're doing in your practice, the first thing that you need to do is to not do it. If you're doing something that you don't like because it's bringing you in money, you think that you're not going to get enough patients if you stop doing it, or whatever the case may be, you're really sabotaging yourself in the long run or in the short run. Once you get through that process, then we go through, well, what is it that you really love to do? And this is a really key exercise. And it does take some time. When I did this myself, it took me about a week. And I had probably about 1,000 things on my list of things that I really liked and loved and how I wanted my life to look. And when we stopped doing dentistry, this was a really key thing for me to do, because we had to switch gears. All of a sudden, when we weren't practicing dentistry anymore, we had to really decide, well, who am I? What do I do? What do I like to do? How can I shape my life right now? I have to be able to I'm starting on a clean slate. And essentially, if you're in a situation in your practice that you're totally satisfied and you love every minute of it, and you're making money and you don't have any seasonal problems and your staff is always happy, and you have all the money you can use and you have all the time you can use, then you've probably been through this exercise. But if any piece of it is missing, then I would highly recommend doing this and taking the time to do it. Because from that, then you want to take a look at really what does distinguish you, because this is really key in your practice. What distinguishes you as a person? Because you're marketing yourself as a person. You have friends, you have family, you have people that want to come to work for you. And marketing you as a person is really just as important as marketing you for your dental practice, because believe it or your medical practice, whatever practice that you're in, because people really come to you because they like you. And once they like you, they'll trust you. And once they trust you, then whatever you say. So when you look at yourself, I always look at where is Waldo. How do you stand out? What makes you different from your colleagues? What makes you different from the people that you are in competition with? And basically what you're looking at here is, what are your products and services that you're doing in your practice? And there's a handout, and it says products and services, if you're looking in the book, that you can turn to. Before we do this products and services, I want you to just turn that page over or find a blank space, and I want you to write down a couple of the things that really distinguish you and your practice. What makes you different? Just make a list of about 5 things. What makes you different? I want you to then go to this grid on your products and services, and I just want you to list 5 of your services that you feel that you would like to promote, or that makes you satisfied, or whatever the case may be. But 5 of the products that you have in your practice, whether it be selling supplements, whether it be in a dental office doing full mouth reconstruction or periodontal services, or if you're a periodontist, your surgeries. Just list under the product your 5 products. Now, there's going to be certain parts of this grid you're going to have to do when you get back to your office, because you're going to need numbers for that. What you would like to do is take a look at this, and you can either look at last year's statistics, but how many of those products actually were sold? And if you have a computer system, you should easily be able to get a list of the number of patients who had crowns, or the number of patients who had periodontal services, or the number of patients who had any particular service that you were doing. You want to really determine how often you were doing that and really how profitable that was. So those are the things that you're going to need to find from your practice statistics to see how much actually they were bringing into your practice. The next thing that you're going to have to do and to estimate this is kind of estimate how much time these things were taking up. So in other words, if you are having to do, let's say in your dental practice, and you're doing snore appliances, how much actual time and the profitability might be quite different than if you're doing, let's say, composite resins, and you're doing many, many more of them. Profitability may be not as much as a snore appliance, and the time may also maybe be more. So this is going to give you some very interesting statistics about what it is that you're doing, how much time and effort you're putting into it, and how much the profit you are making from it. The last 2 things are something that you can figure out right now. And this is very key. Where it says E level. How much enjoyment do you get out of doing this particular product or service? And rate that on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least enjoyable and 5 being the most enjoyable. So that whatever it is that you're doing, not only should it be profitable, and not only should it be time valuable to you, but you have to enjoy it. And then the last part, your S level, is your stress level. Again, 1 to 5. They're going to be opposite each other, but 1 being the least stressful and 5 being the most stressful. Now, if you find out that what you're doing is time efficient, it's profitable, but you don't enjoy it, and it's creating a lot of stress, then you have to step back and say, well, what do I need if I want to keep doing that in my practice? Because that's going to undermine your enjoyment in your practice, and it's going to affect your sustainability, and that's where you can get into trouble. So you need to look at this very critically. Are you making money from it, but you hate it? Is it worth keeping? If it is, then what are you going to need to do to make it less stressful for you? And what do you need to do so that you're going to enjoy it? Maybe you need to take some courses. Maybe you need to hire somebody else to do it. But that's something that you need to go back to, that exercise of what do you love to do and what do you hate to do, because then this will become very crystal clear to you. Because what you want to do is confine yourself to the things that you love to do, that are the least stressful, that are the most profitable, that are the most time efficient, and then you need to find out who those patients are that are going to need those services. I want you to take a look then at what problems do your patients have that require something that you're doing, that you are creating the solution for it. So if you look at that list of products and services that you just did, those 5 different things that you're doing, I want you to think about who is it that needs those particular services. Who are those patients that would require crowns? Who are those patients that would require periodontal services, chelation therapy, supplements, surgeries, diagnostics. And what you're going to do is on the handout that has a product market grid for a niche market, we're going to partially fill this out. You want to list those products in the first column that you just listed. Now I want you to think about the types of patients that are either already in your practice, those market segments that we talked about, and I want you to put those types of market segments across the top. Now you have something that you could look against so that you're taking your particular procedure and seeing the type of patient that that would want that procedure, and you're going to give a numerical number in that box where it crosses. So in other words, if you have chelation therapy and you're also treating children, what would be on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 5, how many children would be requiring chelation therapy, as opposed to if you have your patient segment being men over the age of 50 who smoke. So this is where you're going to have to start to be able to define who your target market segments are based on what their problems are. So what kind of solutions, and I'm using this dentistry, but extrapolate this, how many people are coming to you because they want a crown as opposed to they want to clear up a chronic sinus infection? How many people are coming to you because you have periodontal services or because they want to have they're a high-risk patient and they want to be able to have a better pregnancy? So you want to think in terms of what it is that your patients are coming to see you for, and I will guarantee you they're not coming to you because they want new crowns. This is very different than your cosmetic practices, because that is a niche market for people who are interested in looking better, and so in that case, they may be coming to the one who makes the best crowns, but this is not this group. This is a biological group. These are people that are interested in healthcare, and so we have to look at who our patients are coming to us for, and why are they coming to a biological dentist. So this target market is vital. And you need to think about what it is that this target market is interested in. And I really think the best example was Dr. Ara yesterday. He's probably got the best niche practice that I've heard in a while, because he's not getting people to come to him because he's a good restorative dentist. He's figured out a niche. I hope you don't mind me talking about what great things you're doing, but he's in pain management. He's figured out that he has people coming to him because he has a solution for their pain problem. And he has become as skilled as he possibly can and has taken umpteen courses and teaches and mentors. And when he gets people that have pain, they come to him and he gets dentistry out of it. Right? Okay? They're coming to him for pain, but what happens is that then they also need to have their mercury amalgams removed safely, and they need to have their teeth restored and their vertical restored. So now all of a sudden, somebody who's coming to them for facial pain is coming to him and they're getting full mouth reconstruction done. The dentistry is there, and what you're doing in your general practice is there, but it has to be not because you are selling supplements or not because you're selling crown and bridge or a better partial denture, but because you are solving a particular problem that they are going to want to come to you for. We have a niche market here. Let's say you decide that you would like to be able to specialize in women's health. And I have to be able to say that finding out what your niche is has so much to do with what you love to do. It goes back to what you love to do, what you're good at, what you enjoy, what gives you the least stress, and the money will follow. Phil Memley had it great yesterday. He said, did you go into, dentistry for the money, or did you go into it to help people? Depending on where you're starting from, it really changes how you market your practice. But let's say you start out with a target market of women, and then you decide to have a niche market of dealing with pregnant women, or dealing with women who are obese, or women who have chronic fatigue. Because this is a group of people that if you start going to women in general, you're not going to have enough of a marketing budget to reach all of them. You need to be able to know where you need to go before you start spending umpteen dollars in direct marketing or in going into journals where your target market is not going to be going to. If you're deciding that you're in a health-conscious practice and you want to deal with people that have immune problems, then decide, do you want to specialize in people that have cancer or endocrine problems or allergies, infections? Whatever it is, you can be able to become the expert. Just like Ara had become the expert in pain management, you can become the expert in something that you feel good about. I was working with an acupuncturist who decided that, they're in New Mexico, tremendous amount of acupuncturists there. And when we decided that it was good to be able to work with not just women's health, but people who are having menopausal problems, the practice took off. I mean, it was just unbelievable that person became the specialist in menopausal problems, and they came to, not because this person was an acupuncturist, but because this person had a solution for the menopausal problems that they were having. Just like if you are having patients that are in menopause at this time that may have osteoporosis, see, because when you start talking about a particular women's issue, there are many, many things that you can be able to take care of that dentistry or medicine has a solution for. And then you become the expert. And you will get your medicine or dentistry out of that. Okay, once you identify your target market and your market segment and your niche market, then you have to identify, well, who these people are, what do these people do, where do they go, when do they go there, why are they going someplace, why are they reading something, because that is where your marketing efforts have to be delivered to. So for an example, if somebody, and I'll use pain as an example, if somebody does have chronic pain, they may tend to be going to see a pain management specialist. They may be going to a physical therapist. They may be going to a chiropractor. They may be going to the drugstore to pick up their pain medication. They may be going to the gym to try and work it out. What are they reading? Well, they may read health-conscious journals, maybe not. They may more likely be reading Sports Illustrated because they're athletes and they want to get rid of that pain in their shoulder. So you have to be able to look at where these people are going, what they're reading, who these referral sources are going to be. If you want to get referrals from all of these people that we talked about that are in cross-professional marketing, that are coming outside of the box, because I know in biological dental practice you have a tendency to want to go and get your referral sources from people who understand about how dentistry connects to the mouth, and so you will end up going to holistic medical doctors and naturopaths. But there's a whole other world out there. So how do you reach them, and why would anybody want to refer to you? And the difference of having a referral as opposed to going out and doing direct marketing is that you get a much bigger bang for your buck. If you are trying to do direct marketing and you're trying to get patients to come to you because that you think that, you're going to be able to get people from your website, from your direct marketing, from your articles, you're going to be expending so much more money and time than if you would put that money and time and efforts in trying to market to referral sources. Because if you get a good referral source that's going to be sending you a patient a week, 2 patients a week, 3 patients a week, more, just think about how much that's going to do for your practice. And not only that, but these patients will have a tendency to accept your treatment because it's coming from a trusted source. I have some questions that why would anybody want to refer to you? And this goes back to what distinguishes you. But take a look at why you yourself, why do you refer patients out? What's the reason? Anybody want to give a reason why you would refer a patient out?
Provider gives you a service that you do not provide.
Okay, that's one. You can't do the service. What else? Sharing the liability. Go ahead. Okay, this is somebody that I'm not saying you're referring away from your practice that you don't want to treat anymore. I'm talking about somebody that you're referring from your practice that you want to keep. What are some of the reasons that you would make a referral to a dentist? Or why would you, a dentist, refer to a doctor? Go ahead.
Reciprocity.
Okay.
Because, for example, I refer to naturopathic physicians, and we have naturopaths. They have their own niche. We refer our own naturopathic patients to that naturopath because he does certain things better than we do, and they have the, and in turn, they refer us patients.
Right. So it's, you get the reciprocity, you're sending out things that you yourself can't do. It also, most of the time I know that if we were referring out, it was because it would make our treatment more successful. Phil? What's that? Case acceptance, because that you're going to get another party that's going to reinforce what you want to do. Let's take a look at what happens when you don't refer someone out that should be referred. What are some of the repercussions that can come about when you're not making a referral? What's that? The case could worsen. Liability. You can have a treatment failure. It's going to end up costing you more money. Risk management. Very good. Patients could be disappointed because you're not really treating them as well as you could be. It could create a lot of stress if you're trying to handle things in the office that you can't. A lot of stress for you, a lot of stress for your staff. It comes back to bite you. It ends up costing you more money, and it ends up costing you a lot more time. It can create a lot of negativity. It could give you a bad reputation. You can actually lose patients from not referring properly. You won't get the referrals back if you don't refer. It can actually reduce your joy in the office. It can create negative energy. How many times have you just, you thought you should have referred somebody out for something, you should have done it, and then they end up having a crisis in your office for something that really could have been avoided? It definitely affects your productivity. And it can contribute to turnover in your staff if you're trying to do it all. And I think very big thing is that you're not fulfilled as a practitioner. It really can damage. So referring out is very, very important because there's a lot of repercussions when you are not referring and you can't handle everything, and you shouldn't handle everything, and sometimes you need that reciprocity. The benefits of making those referrals, of course, are that it does reduce stress. It increases your patient satisfaction. It keeps open the lines of communication between you and the referral source. And it absolutely increases your revenues. It does. So why are the reasons that people don't refer? Well, some of the big things that people are afraid that they're going to lose the income. If they refer out, they're not going to get that procedure that was done in their office. They may be afraid that the referral won't go well. Okay. Yesterday, Wendy had mentioned that why do patients come back so upset when they go to see the dentist that I referred them to? That's a big problem. that the referral might not go well. And so you have a tendency to pull back, and then you might not want to refer. The patient's going to come back mad. They're going to be mad at you too. There may be a conflict of personality with the referral source. They may not be as nice to them as you are. They may contradict your treatment plan. Sometimes you have a referral that you go out and they completely undermine everything that you've said. And maybe the outcome might not be the way you think it should go as well. Some of the problems why you don't refer, people are afraid, again, the expense. Especially with dentistry, it's not covered by insurance. And it's just something that, unless the patient really understands the true value of it, the cost can be a major problem in referrals. Sometimes you might have a problem with the referral source being a little too arrogant. They may be disorganized. It could be very hard to get an appointment, and that's going to affect your treatment plan too. You want somebody to go out and get a surgical procedure done so that you could start your restorative work, and they might not be able to get an appointment right away. Or they're too far. You have a referral source that you absolutely love, but it's 2 hours away from your patient and they don't want to go. And then you may not know who to refer to. Or you may not know exactly what can be done and who's capable of doing it. And most of all, and most important, is that you haven't developed a relationship with that person. So, it's a given that you all have exceptional products, commodities. You all know your work. You can expect a good outcome for your patients, but you really have to work to solve the patient's problems, and that does take referrals. And so the bottom line is, what's in it for the referral source? So when you think about why the reasons that you are referring patients out and the repercussions of when you don't refer patients out, this is exactly the reason that you have to appeal to your referral sources. They really need to understand what it's doing for them in the same way of what it's doing for you and why you are referring somebody out. If you want somebody to be referred to you by another practitioner, then what's in it for them? What is in it for a cardiologist to refer you a patient for periodontal work? What's in it for them? Does anybody want to try and guess?
Also the health of their patient. Successful treatment.
Okay, successful treatment. If they're having, they're doing cardiac catheterizations, let's say, and they're finding that in their cardiac catheterizations, they're having 10% or 15% of postoperative complications that are coming from just putting in the catheter because of periodontal disease, and you can show them how this is going to decrease their postoperative infections. Okay? You're now doing something for the cardiologist. They don't really care that your patient has periodontal disease. They care that their treatments are going to be more successful. If you are dealing with pregnant women and they have a gynecologist that does not know a thing about mercury and how it crosses the placenta, but they're going to be at risk at some point because they're going to be sued sometime later on because their child has autism and they didn't think that they did a good delivery, they now have something to gain by having a more successful pregnancy. It's always about, when marketing, it's always about them and it's never about you. So one of the things that you can do, actually, when you start to get back to your office, is you want to actually go through your patient charts. This is an exercise that you can have your staff help you out with. But you want to look through your patient charts and you want to take a look at what are the kind of patients that you're treating. Who are these people? This is once you've identified that you want to be able to treat health-conscious patients, or you want to treat people that have chronic fatigue syndrome, or you're specializing in autism or pain, chronic illnesses, whatever. You want to see who those patients are, and from those patients, those health conditions that you're looking at, you want to try and obtain who their other treating practitioners are. Who else are they seeing? Are they seeing a naturopath, a chiropractor, a gynecologist, a pain specialist, an endocrinologist? Because what you now have looked at is that you have a solution not only for the patient, but you now need to look at those practitioners, their referring practitioners, to see what it is that they can benefit from your services. Now you have the beginning of a list of a referral market base. And this goes way beyond the few naturopaths and chiropractors that you're dealing with now. Now you're dealing with patients that have a tremendous number of practitioners that they're dealing with, and you have a solution. Once you've identified the number of practitioners and your target markets and your niche market, then you can decide, you know what, I am going to be having a niche market and I am specializing in X. You then want to identify where else these people that have X problem are going to. So if these are people that have cancer, not only are they going to be seeing radiologists, but these are people that are most likely going to be having dry mouth, and they may be going to their internist as well, and somebody's got to be managing the ship, and so you have a solution for dry mouth that you're dealing with that they can only send to a dentist. So then you want to go into your yellow pages and you want to take a look at who are these other treating practitioners. And if you decide that you're going to work with gynecologists because you're treating women's periodontal issues, look in your area, see the kind of practitioners that you're dealing with that are gynecologists that are treating pregnant women that you are going to be able to work with, that you have something that you can offer them. How are you going to do this? There's many, many different marketing tools that are available. There's many different tactics, whether it be an open house, whether it be you collecting articles that are pertaining to them and sending it to them, going into joint ventures with them, whether you lecture together, things that you can work out with these practitioners, but it's all about developing relationships. It's all about relationships. And if they like you, they're going to keep sending you patients. Peter Drucker said, because of the nature of business, it just has two functions and only two, marketing and innovation. They are the only two that make money. Everything else is a cost, and you just figure it out. You cannot get anybody to sit in your chair and accept your treatment plan if you are not marketing. So the money that you spend in marketing has to be worthwhile, and it has to be directed towards your niche market, and it has to be solution-oriented. I want you to take a look at a business organization chart. I don't think you're going to find a successful business out there that does not have a marketing department. If you do, please let me know, because every company that we have been dealing with has its own marketing division, and they are the highest budget of any other segment in the company. They get the most budget, more than human resources, more than anything. They will put their money into marketing because they know that marketing is going to bring them in money. Now, if we look at a dental organization, most of them don't have a marketing department at all. They'll have their front desk person try and send out some postcards, maybe have them organize a lecture for them, but for the most part, there is no marketing department. So, take the time to figure out what makes you authentic, what makes you better, how you can capitalize on a niche market, identifying your multiple referral sources, and developing somebody that can come in, even if it's part-time, to just do marketing for your practice. When you go home, Decide that you're going to take some time to work on your business. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Mike Gerber. He's written the E-Myth Revisited, the E-Myth Physician. I highly recommend the book. It'll change your life. That you need to schedule a time to not just work in your business, but to work on your business. That you need to establish goals and benchmarks not only for yourself and your life, but for your business as well. It's because when you do that, you will reach goals. If you set those benchmarks, you will absolutely be able to reach what it is that you've set yourself out to do. And write yourself out an agenda. Figure out what it is that you want to do first. You may decide that you just would like to go through your charts or go through your treatment plans, or be able to take a look at how much is outstanding and what it is that you can do to get those people back in so that you can find out what's important to them. I didn't even go into how to market to your patients and treatment plan acceptance, because that's a whole other idea. But I will tell you that if you develop your referral market sources, you will get a higher treatment plan acceptance. Clear out the clutter that's in your practice. Just if you're not enjoying what you're doing, stop doing it. If you have equipment that's hanging around that you're not using anymore, get rid of it. If you're not using supplies, get rid of it. If you can't stand the people you're working with, get rid of them. If you don't like your vendors, throw them out. Start with new ones. Get yourself a new accountant if you need to, but clear out the clutter, because everything has to be supporting you. If you have anything that's undermining you, you're not going to be able to enjoy your practice and enjoy your life. If you need to learn more about something and you decided that you want to reduce your stress factor and get more enjoyment out of something, then figure it out what it is that you need to do. Get consultants if you need it, take courses if you need it, read, but do what needs to be done. Nobody's going to do this for you. You have to make these decisions yourself and just obtain the necessities for you to move forward. And then your ideas can stop being a wish list. It's not going to happen someday. It'll actually turn into a reality. And I think my time is about up. Is that right? You're right. Okay. Well, I thank you so much.